everyone, back to channel. Today we are going to start the Neisseria. Actually in Neisseria there are two important species, that is Neisseria meningitis and Neisseria gonorrhea. So first let us see the meningitis. As the name says, the meningitis causes meningitis and meningococcemia, and the gonorrhea causes the that is Neisseria gonorrhoeae causes the gonorrhea, as the name says. So first let us see the meningitis. Actually this Neisseria species got its name because of the scientists who have found it, that is Neisser, and also Bum is the one, and also Weck Svelbaum are related to this. Actually the Weck Svelbaum found the meningococci, and it belongs to the family Neisseria and the genus Neisseria, and the species are two types, we know, gonorrhea and meningitis. So there are actually the main features is they are gram-negative cocci and they resemble the pear kidney shape, and they are also aerobic, non-motile, non-sporing, and oxidase positive. Mainly this is important, catalase positive. Now let us see, these are just like morphological features, and the main culture, it is a chocolate agar. This chocolate agar is also known as Thayer Martin agar. That is, really chocolate is not present, but it's a blood agar, especially the sheep blood is used, which is also treated with vancomycin and colistin and niacin if you want to make it as a selective media, because these drugs inhibit the formation of other species, so that we can only find this Neisseria species mainly. So coming to the pathogenesis, that is the virulence factor, we know. Actually it has a capsular polysaccharide which inhibits the phagocytosis, and it also has an endotoxin like lipolignosaccharide LOS, which is used to stop the phagocytosis, and IgA protease, which is very important because this IgA protease inhibits the IgA of our body, so that it doesn't undergo the opsonization and it can invade the neutrophil, and where it grows its colonies and it bursts out finally and reach the other parts. So when it reaches the blood, then it is known as meningococcemia. So this is important. This is what we are saying, meningococcemia, when it reaches the bloodstream, that the endothelial cells are damaged. This also causes the Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome, and later meningitis in brain. So whenever this species enters the brain, they blood-brain barrier and easily enter into the CSF, where they are causing the infection, that is inflammation of our meninges. So meninges, we know, dura mater, pia mater, arachnoid mater. So it leads to inflammation of our meninges and leading the meningitis. So the treatment and precision, actually the penicillin G is the treatment of choice for the meningococcal infection, and also the chemoprophylaxis may be rifampicin and also ciprofloxacin, and the meningococcal vaccine is a capsular polysaccharide as the immunogen. That is the glucose and maltose by oxidatively attack, and do not act on the lactose and sucrose mainly. And they are having 13 serogroups. This is important, that is A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, and also 29E, W135, H, I, K, L. This is important. These are majorly responsible for large majority of our infections, and they are very delicate organisms, so they are susceptible to the heat and also disinfectants, so we can easily kill them. And the pili they have is very important, which help in adhesion to the mucosa of our body, and also the endotoxins are released during the multiplication, and cause the inflammatory response, causes the vascular necrosis, that is a petechial hemorrhage in the Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome. If you remember this one I am saying. And next we have the outer membrane proteins that are also involved to attach to the host cell, and mainly the pathway of this infection is it can transmit to others by droplet infection, that is whenever by inhalation or close contact with anyone, and also this attached to the nasopharynx of our nose part, and through the perineal sheet of the olfactory nerve or via blood it may reach the cribriform plate, if you remember in our skull, cribriform plate, and reaches the CNS. So from the CNS it may form in the lesions in the spinal cord or the base and the cortex of the brain, or from the cribriform plate it also enters the subarachnoid space and finally reaching to the cortex of the brain, where it is causing the meningitis. And the pathogenicity is the three diseases, that is the meningococcemia, meningitis, and also sometimes pneumonia, conjunctivitis, and also arthritis. And the clinical features of this patient would be like self-limiting febrile illness, local inflammation with rhinitis and pharyngitis. And in meningococcemia, mainly here in this picture you can see, we can find fever, malaise, and also petechial skin lesions. If you observe in this baby, there are some skin lesions, so these are found mainly in the meningococcemia. And also the meningitis is important, and which also leads to his headache, neck stiffness, and also vomiting, and also some confusion and delirium. And the specimens, actually we take these specimens by CSF, because it is reaching the brain and also blood. And also we can take from skin lesions and also joints sometimes, because it enters joints. And also nasopharyngeal swab is important because it attacks mainly there. From there it may go to cribriform plate, and also sputum and conjunctival swab. So as these are collected easily, when they should be transported immediately to the laboratory, because very delicate species. And also we use the Stewart's transport medium to this. So this is important. And the blood should be added to the glucose broth and also transported. So these are some things. And this examination, gross examination, it can be done by the microscopic examination or by culture or enrichment. So wet preparation is by the pus cells. You can see their pus cells, and also it stains gram negative. Why it is gram negative? Because it has a very thin cell wall, so it can easily take the purple dye. And whenever we have next time another dye, it can easily take it. So it is gram negative. And it is diplococci. They are actually in pairs. If we see here, they are diplococci. They both are in like pairs in structure. And also the culture, we take cerebrospinal fluid on a blood agar, chocolate agar, as we discussed. We also give it 5 to 10% of extra carbon dioxide supplementation for our rapid growth, and we can easily observe that on our microscope. So this is the thing we use. And these biochemical reactions are important. That is, it's mainly catalase positive, oxidase positive, and also glucose maltols are utilized oxidatively. And the serotyping is done by the agglutination with the poly or monovalent anti-meningococcal sera. And the antibiotic susceptibility testing is done by, if you remember, Kirby beer diffusion method. In everything we use this only. Here we have chloramphenicol, ketramyxol, erythromycin, ciprofloxacin, and also doxycycline are used, and also ceftadine are used. And the minimum inhibitory concentration can be calculated by susceptibility on the penicillin. And the antigen detection can be done by in the cerebrospinal fluid by using the ELISA test, and also counter immunoelectrophoresis, and also lateral agglutination test can be done. And the antibody detection is mainly by hemoagglutination test, which is performed to especially detect the antibodies in chronic cases. And the nucleic acid detection is by polymerase chain reaction. And the drugs which are mainly used in this treatment are here, they are mentioned, mainly penicillin, chloramphenicol, erythromycin, ciprofloxacin, doxycycline, ceftriaxone, and cefazamide. Here are few only mentioned, but I am saying extra drugs. And prophylaxis is monovalent, polyvalent vaccines are available with the capsular polysaccharides of groups A, C, W135 are available, and immunity is group specific. So let us see the Neisseria gonorrhea. Actually they are also the diplococci bacteria, and they are also gram negative, and they are catalase positive, non-sporing, and oxidase positive cocci. This Neisseria gonorrhea can be distinguished from meningitis by one feature, that is they use the maltose oxidation, but whereas gonorrhea doesn't. And one more thing, the gonorrhea are mostly uncapsulated, they doesn't have capsule in their virulence factor. So these are the two differences which we can find out. And next one is they also need enriched media like extra carbon dioxide supplementation with 5 to 10%. That is, we use the blood agar, that is the same sheep agar, chocolate agar, where the Thiar Martin medium is used with some antibiotics like colistin, nyastin, and also vancomycin. And the modified Thiar Martin medium is also used with additional trimethoprim. And the colonies which we find are like small, here you can see small, transparent, grey, convex, and slightly ambonate. Colonies are divided into 4 types based on the virulence, and Klegog actually divided them into T1, T2, T3, T4. So the T1 and T2 are small brown colonies produced by the pileated strains, and they are auto-agglutinable and virulent gonococci. But the T3, T4 are produced by non-pileated avirulent structures. So T1, T1 are more capable because they are having more virulence, but the T1, T4 are avirulent strains which form the smooth suspensions. And fresh isolates develop the T1 and T2 types colonies, and subcultures they develop T3, T4, because fresh one is nothing but the direct one. T3, T4 are subcultures, so they are like second type, so they are avirulent, they are not so reactive. And coming to the biochemical reactions, as I said, they are catalase positive, oxidase positive, and also they utilize the glucose only with the production of acid. And next, coming to antigens, that is their virulence factor. They have mainly the pili. Pili is a protein. It's an immediate attachment to the mucosal cell surface and are antiphagocytic, so they are one of the virulence. And the endotoxins like lipolignosaccharide, that is LOS, and also their outer membrane proteins and IgS protease similar to Neisseria meningitis. Those diseases cause diseases only in humans. They're usually transmitted sexually, and the genital tract infections are the most common cause. So they can be seen in the male. In men, gonorrhea is carried out primarily by urethritis and accompanied by dysuria and purulent discharge. And in female, it is infection located endosurface causing the purulent vaginal discharge and also intramenstrual bleeding cervicitis. The most frequent complication in women is ascending infection of uterine tubes, which can result in a sterility or ectopic pregnancy. And in neonatal, so if a female is pregnant at that time, then the neonatal, we can see neonatal conjunctivitis and disseminated gonococci infection, arthritis, and also tenocytovils are seen. They are very delicate organisms, so they are also resistant, so they are easily on heating, and also antiseptics easily kill them. And freeze drying is a method for long term storage. And other virulence factors may be the mode of action on which they produce, so they are like that. And the capsule, in a freshly isolated structure, it may be somewhat active, but later it may not be. But the pili is the most one which helps to attachment to the mucous surface. And other membrane proteins are like protein 1 and protein 2. The protein 1 is also called pore protein, and the protein 3 is also present, as called as RMP protein. So both act as a ligand to attach to the coccus in the host cells. So the protein 1, as the name says, pore protein, it forms some pores, and protein 3 is associated with the protein 1. So protein 2 is also known as OPA protein. It appears to be associated with gonococci to host cells and also clumping of cocci in urethral exudates. It also has an antiphagocytic role. And liposaccharide of infection is due to endotoxic effect of lipopolysaccharide. In the IgA protease, as same in the meningitis, they also inactivate the IgA and increase the capability of the bacteria to stay inside the host. And the pathogenesis is mainly they are causing the gonorrhea. And the flow of infection is by, it may occur due to the sexual contact, adhesion to the uterine mucosal surface, and penetrating through the intracellular spaces and reach the subepithelial connective tissue, finally urethritis, and also urethral discharge. So from that discharge, it may leak and cause diseases to the others. And also sometimes blood invasion and metastatic lesions are occurred. And water also cause the water can perineum, that is characterized spread of infection to the periurethral tissue, causing abscesses and also multiple discharging sinuses. So in female, it may lead to cervicitis, inflammatory disease, meningitis, and also proctitis in male, conjunctivitis in neonatals, and also arthritis may occur sometimes. And in prepubertal girls, it may lead to vaginitis and also vulvovaginitis. And in newborns, you can see gonococcal ophthalmia too. So examinations, we can find it mainly by drop of secretions from male, if from prostatic massage or from urine. And asymptomatic patients, it adherence to the mucosa. And in female, we can take the cervical swabs, vaginal swabs, anal swabs, and blood also sometime. And also we can take the conjunctival swabs. Next, coming to the collection, these are also sensitive, so they should be collected by using the rayon swabs or cotton swabs, and they should be easily transferred to the cultured media and need to be observed. And the transport is by inoculation is preferred mostly, and the transport mainly by EMIS transport media. And the blood and synovial fluids are collected in some suspected cases where there are arthritis. In example, you can take the triptychase soya broth, where we use that one. And microscopic examination, as they are gram stain negative diplococci, they form the pus cells in this case, and majority of them are intracellular. And next, fluorescent antibody technique is increased sensitivity specificity of the bacteria. And in the culture, we mainly take the genital rectal samples, and we also use the blood agar, chocolate agar here also in the same way. And the selective media, we have some antibiotics to them. And next, coming to chemical reaction, here the fermentation of glucose occurs with acid production, and they do not ferment maltose, so this is important in gonorrhea. But whereas our meningitis ferments the maltose. And susceptibility detection, same, we use the Kirby-Berry diffusion method with some supplements like ceftriaxone, ciprofloxacin, alpha-flaxin, tetracycline, doxycycline and also erythromycin. So these gonococci are known to develop resistance to the penicillin. And in antibody detection, we can see patients with metastatic lesions, especially when isolation fails. And tests available are radioimmunoassay, ELISA, hemoagglutination, and the drugs. So treatment, let us see here first. The treatment is treatment of choice ceftriaxone for gonococcal infections. Azithromycin or ciprofloxacin should be used in patient allergic to penicillins or cephalosporins. Doxycycline is often included as part of treatment regimen due to coexistence of chlamydial infection. So let us say some more other drugs, like we can use penicillin, erythromycin, ciprofloxacin, doxycycline and ceftriaxone, same as mentioned here. And the immunity is maintained by defense against gonococci, IgA and IgG, complement and neutrophils. So repeated gonococcal are common primarily as a result of antigenic changes of pili and outer membrane proteins. So one more thing important, I forgot to say that pili. Here what happens, a special feature of gonorrhea is their pili showed the different factors. So our immune system can't remember them. So as they are always having a phase difference, there is difficulty to find the vaccine. So there is no proper vaccine till now for the gonococci. And the prevention is use of condoms, prompt treatment of sympathetic patients and their contacts. And the gonococcal conjunctiva in newborn is prevented by use of erythromycin ointment, and no vaccine is available for this. Whereas for meningitis there is a vaccine, so we need to be careful with this gonorrhea. So this is about Serratia genus.